Good afternoon. I'm Ed Wolfe, your Kitsap County Commissioner of Central Kitsap. I have a guest that I'm going to introduce in a minute, but right now I'll take my mask off so you can hear me better. Hopefully, you're being safe, sane, and healthy during these unprecedented times. And I'll let that go at that. I don't need to talk about the unprecedented times. I'm here today and I'm happy to share with all of you at home a colleague, a friend, Karen Vargas. Karen Vargas is the founder and director of Living Life Leadership and Living Life Cultural Heritage Center. What does all this mean, Cultural Heritage Center? It's my understanding, it's a youth mentorship program. Karen Vargas is about youth and she's about mentorship. She's advocated in Kitsap County for youth and mentorship for over 25 years, and I did research this. I knew there was a couple of decades, it was 25 years, including being the chairperson at one point, recent point, of the multinational advisory council for Bainbridge Island schools. I believe I got that right. If not, I'm sure Ms. Vargas will correct me. Welcome, Ms. Vargas.
Well, thank you, Ed. I'm going to unmask as well, but Living Life Leadership, y'all better be safe because you know you have to be masked up. Can't be out here.
And you preach that to your kids all the time.
Yes, I do.
So before we get, please unmask, thank you. And we're 6 feet apart?
Yes.
More than 6 feet apart.
Ed.
So before I get to the substantive, serious part of this discussion, I'd like to have a non-serious discussion. Number one, you're Army.
Yes.
You've been Army.
Yes.
Your husband was Navy.
Yes.
Your county commissioner here is Army.
Yes.
We know about that. We outnumber Navy right now in Kitsap County. I believe you told me that you and your husband moved to the Bainbridge Island
Yes.
in was it 1992?
Yes, it was,
And
1992.
you also grew up in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia.
And yours truly, as you know, I think you remember,
Yes, I
is from
do.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Yes.
It's about an hour and a half away. My times have changed.
Yes, they have.
And you just got back.
Yes, I did.
On a serious note, you've been in this community for a long, long time. I just told the public about that. And in this community, you've organized a number of events.
Yes, sir.
Continue to organize a number of events.
Yes, sir.
Most recently, I remember in June, you organized and had a tremendous amount of people marching.
Yes.
Very wonderful, mild, and just such a peaceful march with
Yes.
young kids and
Yes.
old kids like me. and this was it was a monumental march for June 19th.
Yes, Juneteenth.
Tell the public, what is June 19th?
Well, you know, we have a history here in our nation of slavery. And back in the 1800s, when slavery was abolished, there were many states that slavery continued. And the word did not get to Texas until June the 19th of 1865.
1865. The word got to Texas.
The word got to Texas.
Okay.
And they declared June 19th as a national celebration for African American for freedom. So June 19th is a celebration for the freedom of African Americans here in this nation.
Originating in Texas.
Originating in Texas.
And the march this year, I'm speculating, the county commissioners were there joining.
Yes, they were.
Joining, and very proudly. How many people do you guesstimate, youth and older?
Oh, a guesstimate
Yeah, guesstimate.
with all of the marching
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone that came out. Oh, I would say 500 people.
500 people.
500
Well, I
people.
really underestimated that. Yeah.
Yeah, 500 people.
It was wonderful.
Yeah,
it was wonderful.
It was.
So let me move into the program that I'd like to share with our audience today
Yes.
that you can be very helpful. Tell us what led you to your personal journey for advocacy initiatives.
Wow.
Advocacy initiatives. What started you on this journey that's continuing today?
Well, I think during my upbringing in Virginia, as well as in Connecticut, in Willimantic, Connecticut, I began youth advocacy work as a young person myself. We were immersed in Willimantic in a program that was called WACAP that partnered
What
with...
WACAP was?
WACAP was a mentoring program working with the city, working with the community, with neighborhoods and housing, as well as the employment agency, and the University of Stores.
Okay.
It was what I would call a real community building mentoring program that met the needs of all of the parents as well as the young people.
Okay. That was a few years ago.
We won't say.
So talk to me, Karen, if you would, about, or talk to the audience,
Yes.
if you would, about Living Life Leadership, the organization.
Yes.
I understand it's a youth
Yes.
and mentorship program,
Yes.
but it's designed
Yes.
specifically
Yep.
for students to learn about civics and what?
Yes.
Is it leadership?
Well, Living Life Leadership.
You founded this.
Yes, I founded Living Life Leadership back in 1993. We had partnered with the Boys and Girls as well as Emmanuel Apostolic Church and with the National Youth Leadership Council.
Okay.
And we...
When you say Boys and Girls, not the Boys and Girls Club?
Oh, yes.
That's
Boys
what you're
and
talking
Girls.
about,
Yep,
okay.
Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Clubs did not exist in Kitsap County, only on Bainbridge Island. And Bainbridge Island Boys and Girls Club was a part of King County's Boys and Girls. But we, as Kitsap County, didn't have an established Boys and Girls Club. So we met with Bishop Lawrence Ray Robertson, with the Boys and Girls, and with National, and we wanted to establish a Boys and Girls Club in Kitsap County.
So you know, this show's not about me, it's about you today. But I do have to put a plug in for Jerry Reed
Yep.
and Peter Braun,
Yes.
Norm Johnson, who
Yep,
played,
that's right.
and myself.
Yep.
We started and founded
Yep.
the Boys and Girls Club on Naval Avenue.
That's right. I was a part of that crew.
Capacity Day, and then the, now you have a Bainbridge Island Boys and Girls Club?
Yes, we've had one. We were part of the Boys and Girls Club when I arrived in 1992 because I needed to find a place where our young people could be able to go. And so Boys and Girls at that time was part, they were established on Sportsman Road. And then they moved from that building to the Commodore building, and then from the Commodore building to the pool, and to right there on site of the Bainbridge Island High School.
And they're doing well today.
Oh, yes, yes, yep. They are doing quite well.
Let me transition, Karen, to the subject of what I see, or many of us see, is the increase of activism of younger people in Kitsap County. I'm just talking about Kitsap County.
Oh, yes.
The increase of activism among younger people. Is that happening?
That's happening. I mean, that's going down. That's happening. That's going down. That's happening as we speak. Whenever you give the opportunity for young people to have youth voice, because young people need to be able to express how they're feeling and be able to be heard about the subject and things that are happening within their own communities and within their own lives. And so when we open that door up for our young people to be able to be heard, then you will see the increase of youth activism.
And it's happening.
And it's happening.
Certainly in Kitsap, but around the country. So I'm of the generation before cell phones, certainly before smartphones, before maybe even faxes, I don't know. But I've watched on Facebook before, you occasionally, frequently, upload something on Facebook. Do you not do that?
Yes, I do.
And I'd like to give you a plug on that one. If anyone's interested, it's the Daily Dose of Miss Karen. Is that right?
Yes.
The Daily Dose of Miss Karen. What the heck is, tell the public about it.
Daily Dose, well, 2 years ago, before all of COVID and before the unrest, we wanted to establish a youth empowerment conference for our young people, for latchkey kids during winter break, spring break, summer break. We had to find ways to be able to engage our young people during that time. And most of our young people, even though school is out, our parents, single parents and parents that have to work, we have young people that are latchkey. And no one was addressing that. So at the Emmanuel Apostolic Church, as well as the Embassy Center and the Marvin Williams Center, we said we wanted to create youth empowerment conference that we could feed them during the day, we could teach them how to be safe in the kitchen, we could teach them how to make sure that they understood the importance of staying engaged even though they were out of school. And so we sat down and did some visioning, and we came up with Living Life Leadership Youth Empowerment Conference. And because we've engaged them since 1992.
This is for the whole county.
This is for the whole county. Any young people, any young person could come. Parents, we encourage parents to stay engaged with it and become volunteers. If you have a gift or talent and you want to share with a young person, you can come in and set up a workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be accurate to say that social media has changed the way you convey your advocacy?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So
You have a smartphone?
yes, I do. Ask me if I know how to use it though. No, the young people they have been my mentor and my teacher when it comes down to technology and when it comes down to smartphones and engaging on social media. Because I come from that generation where, you know, we were kind of detached from this technology and during this this age of social media. And so if we're going to engage with our young people, we have to equip ourselves and educate ourselves about technology and where that's leading.
That's why we need more younger people.
Yep.
Not only advocating as you're doing, but in government, in local government, state government. We need young people, not just because of technology.
That's right.
We need new thoughts,
Oh
refreshed
man,
thoughts.
they are
So
whizzes.
would it be fair, would it be accurate to say that social media has changed your whole advocacy? I think I asked you that.
Yes, it's changed. It really has changed my life because I was not even engaged in technology the way I am now.
I still struggle, but I work hard at it.
Well,
With social media, with technology. So let me ask you this, Karen. Much of your work is making people aware of issues, I believe,
yes,
that many people didn't know existed.
yes.
I mean, the bigger issues, we know they existed.
Yes.
So describe your experiences guiding conversations about race inequality to promote awareness.
Yes.
Your experiences.
Well, you know, we came to a place of what I would call being informed on Bainbridge. It's been almost 3 years now. We had some white supremacy activity within our community. Swastikas, graves, sites being...
How long ago was that?
It's been almost 3 years.
Okay.
And then it wasn't just our community, it was across Kitsap County because Bremerton had experienced some hate mail and some hate literature that was being flooded throughout the county. Poulsbo had received some as well as Silverdale. And so we went down to our commissioners, our council members, and we said we need to talk about this, and the city needs to have a race equity task force.
With Bainbridge Island you're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
to address these issues that were surfacing within our community.
Okay.
Because when these type of behaviors begin to manifest themselves, it's important that we address them and inform and educate our community how we will address them within the environment. You just can't allow these things to continue to go unaddressed.
That makes sense. I know from talking to you earlier that the students that you're talking about, the many students you're talking about, you reminded me you've taken these students to Ghana, you've taken these students to Minneapolis, you've taken these students to Washington, D.C., taken these students to New York, you've taken them to Minnesota. For I believe you told me for cultural education.
Yes.
What's all that about?
Well, you know, when I started Living Life Leadership back in 1993, we were focusing on community engagement, civic engagement, service learning, social and cultural competency training, which National Youth Leadership out of Minnesota has worked on with Dave Kielsmeyer for probably 40 years now, that National Youth Leadership has been doing this type of work within our nation and globally, because they were doing international work with Wukiwia from Africa. So we got involved with that work in '93, but we always try to make sure that we customize it to fit the needs of the students that we're serving.
Okay, are these students that were part of your organization, or and how many would go on just generally on a trip?
Oh man, as many as we can take, because it's always a challenge with resources to be able to take these underrepresented, underserved students. So we've had to do fundraisers, make the ask, and get sponsors to be able to sponsor a child to be able to go.
And you're still doing that?
And still doing that.
I'm transitioning 1 year again, and this was not happy news for me, but Marvin Williams just retired.
Yes!
He announced his retirement, I think.
Yes!
So we've got the Marvin Williams Recreation Center in Bremerton.
Yes.
Marvin Williams, obviously a part of that.
Yes.
Bishop Robertson was very key there. I know you were tremendously involved, and many others.
Yes, many others.
Across the entire county, Spectrum County.
Many.
I also heard Dr. Lillian Robertson, the wife of the late Bishop, describe you as, and I wrote this down, describe you as, Karen, she's the real deal. What would Dr. Robinson mean by that? Why are you the real deal? Sounds like a commercial.
A commercial. I don't know, because I know all I can tell you is that I've had tremendous mentors, Bishop Lawrence Ray Robertson being one of my, I would call them best cheerleaders to really push me to continue the work that I'm doing, along with Dr. Maxine Mims, who founded Evergreen in Tacoma on the hilltop there. And that work originated right out of the basement of Emmanuel Apostolic Church over 40 years ago. And so to have leaders that support you, that encourage you, that mentor you in that type of way, you have to begin to just thank them for really giving to you like
that. As they have.
As they have.
Karen, we've been talking about a lot of things, and the relationship between all of our community members. Yes. I couldn't be happier with 21, 22 years here. Let's take a quick break and come back and address some of these other issues that are extremely important to all of us.
Thank you.
All right, I'm back with Karen Vargas, and let's talk about Erase. Yes. How did it start? Who started it? What does it do? What's it doing today? Equity, race,
and community engagement.
Tell us. Tell the public.
Well, Erase did not start as Erase. Erase started as REN. And it was described as an explosion, that it erupted, it exploded, it broke up. Oh, they're not this, they're not that. And REN was Race Equity Network. We were building a network. We were organizing our community to come together to address race equity issues within our community on Bainbridge. And so it was probably around 70 to 80 community members that came together to work on that initiative. They were able to get the Race Equity Task Force started for the Bainbridge Island City Council. We were working on race equity issues, working with the Multicultural Advisory Council within the school district, and looking into equity within education. So we were pulling in organizations as well as community members that have been working in social justice, racial justice work within the city. That's how it began. And it exploded because there were members within the REN team that really didn't get along.
The what team?
REN, the Race Equity Network. And so we went to the conflict resolution of Kitsap County to work out the differences, and took many months to try to advocate for reconciliation and heal some of the differences that had manifest during our forming of REN. And so that didn't happen. So what I did was I reached out to the greater community of Kitsap, and I said, we're going to deal with equity, race, and community engagement. This is a community engagement. A community is made up of our young people, our parents, our families. And so our families have to be involved in this conversation. They have to be involved in this work. And I reached out to every organization that had within its mission statement eliminating racism, equity, and diversity, and said, let us organize, let us come together to begin to address some of the inequities within our county. And that is how E-Race was birthed.
Okay, very special, very special. And it's growing.
And it's growing. And it's growing and still has some bumps in the road, as any newborn baby would, getting up, walking, and falling down. But we're learning as we go, and we continue to advocate for community voice and community engagement to be able to transform and change our communities for the better around racial diversity, equity issues, because they won't go away. We have to address them head on.
Yes, thank you. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on my BCAT, I've already talked about your leadership in our entire community, from Bainbridge to South. But I know you regularly are meeting with leaders in Bainbridge Island.
Yes.
You live there.
Yes.
Leaders in Paulsbo.
Yes.
Electeds and non-electeds.
Yes.
Schools.
Yes.
Especially schools.
Yes.
In the mentorship of the youth.
Yes.
Certainly in Central Kitsap, where I'm the
Yes.
county commissioner. Buckland Hill, you had a group out there in
Yes,
Buckland
I
Hill
did.
this year. And certainly in Port Orchard and Bremerton.
Yes.
And you're so well respected. I wanted the public that doesn't know you or what you
Edward.
do or have done
Yeah.
and continue to do, I wanted them to see your face and I wanted them to hear you.
Oh,
So,
thank you,
and I
Edward.
mean that with my heart. I think that's about all I have at this point. If there's one thing that you could walk out this door today and say, this is the one thing I want to, it's a tough question. One thing I want to do in this county to continue your efforts for all of us, what would that be? And I ask that question because I've heard other elected officials say that she doesn't want to be a hearer, H-E-A-R-E-R, She wants to be a doer.
Yes.
So what's the one thing you would do as we close this segment with Commissioner's Corner?
The one thing I would say is we must look at ourselves. We must work on ourselves. I've always taught our young people that we've mentored over the years, it starts with us. Everything starts with us. We have to work on our attitudes, our behavior, our characters. And where you go, you go. So all the things that you're dealing with, until you begin to heal some of those things that might not be so healthy in your life, if you are not working on those things, it's going to continually affect all of us. Because if you're in school, you bring that with you. When you're in the community, you bring that with you. When you come home, you bring that with you. We have to begin to work towards healing and reconciliation. And it doesn't matter what the topic or what the issue might be.
Together.
Together.
And I would add, and I'm reluctant to say this, but I'll say it anyway. In addition to what you've said, and this is not a political statement, it's not a statement that has any religious connotation to it, I also think it begins with family.
It does. We have advocated for many years to strengthen our families. Because our families make up our communities.
We need to continue doing that.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Karen Vargas.
Oh, thank you, Edward.
Kitsap County, thank you for joining me and joining Karen Vargas, us for this very special, I think, BCAT on race, equity, and how we're all in this together. And we're working together, we're collaborating, and I'm so impressed with our county. That's why I moved here with my wife 22 years ago, because of who we are and how we work together and make things better in our county. Be safe, be sane with these difficult times we're going through, and keep our county moving in the direction that I think it's moving. Thank you.
Thank you.